So, welcome to the Creators Culture. I'm Sean Fenner, and this is Rico. As always, we have a special guest today with us, Kinesha Hudson.
Hi.
She's one of our youth leaders at the church and serves with young people. Just an incredible young woman of God who just really has this strong calling over her life. And so, we promised you guys that we were going to be talking about fear and how fear holds you back. And I think fear is key to the reason that so many people don't accomplish the things that they set out to do. Yeah. So over the last couple weeks, we've talked about motivation, we've talked about goals, we've talked about habits, and we want you guys to understand that one of the greatest ways you're going to be interrupted is fear creeping into your life. And I love, we're Christians, we go to church, we love God, and one of my favorite verses in Scripture, man, is that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of authority or power and love, man.
Yes.
And I think when you are positive and you speak that into the world, that it allows a movement to happen. It allows things that are stagnant to be stirred up. And so Kinesha's got a unique story because God recently took her to a very fearful place. That Rico and I have already been to. We mentioned that we had gone to the Philippines. You guys heard about our sinking boat story and some of the crazy things that we've done. And so Kinesha actually had an opportunity to go on the trip. I usually lead the trip, but I had just had a baby.
Yes.
And Kinesha had the opportunity to jump on that team and to go over there. And so, Kinesha, maybe just talk with us a little bit about like what kind of anxiety and fear comes over you when you've grown up in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
You've grown up in a two-parent home, great family, awesome parents, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to go halfway across the world and the nearest island I'm going to be next to is where they film Survivor.
Right.
What sinks in when that happens?
Yeah. It sounds totally crazy, but it was all worth it. I was so nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I heard nothing but great stories about the Philippines and scary stories too, but just trying to step out in faith of what God called me to do. And I remember the night before we had to leave, I got on my knees and I started praying like, Lord, I'm so nervous. I don't know, am I supposed to go to the Philippines? Should I go? Bags were already packed. The ticket was already purchased, and I'm like, okay, it's set in stone. I gotta go. And let me tell you, a 14-hour plane ride, 45 minutes into Naga City for another plane ride, and it was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All that anxiousness, anxiety, fear, God just took complete control over that.
So talk about the difference, because maybe a lot of the viewers don't know, and one of the things we want to be real about is what we experience in life. Man, flying on a commercial jet is very different than flying on a small plane.
I've never been. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes. I was
right?
I've never been on a jet, but I've been on a 747.
Yeah.
And you go, it's like a twin engine.
Yep. And then you go to this small little plane,
very,
right?
Very small.
So what's going through your mind? Because if I remember right, when you fly into Naga, right, it's like a one terminal airport. Like we're used to LAX where there's all these giant planes and jumbo jets and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you fly into this little tiny place, right?
Yeah.
It's basically like the plane lands and turns around, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then you're sitting there like, yo, I'm about to get on this tiny little thing right now, and where are we going?
Exactly. Yeah.
So what was going through your mind? Like as you got there, you're in Manila, right?
Yeah, we're in Manila.
One of the most dense countries or cities in the world.
Right.
And then you go from that to super remote, tiny plane. Like what was the shift in that? Like what was going through your mind? What were you thinking in that process?
La Bamba.
Yeah.
That was the first thing when I saw the sides of the plane. I'm like, La Bamba. But no, it was actually exciting at the same time. I was very nervous because, I think there was probably 20 people that could fit on the. It was very small. Not enough air circulation, and you're flying over water, and you're looking down, like, please, no La Bamba happening.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. They had the little snacks on the plane. It was like this bread, sweet bread, something like that. And they served that as well. But everyone was very nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel like Like, how were the people different? Because, like, I know, Rico, we had talked a lot about hospitality.
Yeah.
And how you felt like people were so just friendly and hospitable there.
Yeah.
And how, like, this, like sense of family was, like, so unified. Did you experience that as well?
I did. Like, believe it or not, the Philippines, I was the only ethnicity of being African American, and I was kind of worried coming into that, saying, like, are there going to be other African Americans out there, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, it was predominantly like Filipino. So
Yeah.
when I saw and interacted with the people, they were so embracing and saying hello.
That's cool.
No prejudice or anything like that going on. And it was like this love,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like they look beyond color.
Wow.
You know, so it was deep. Like,
That's
I
cool.
just thought that, you know, coming in with that assumption that maybe there might be some prejudice, but there wasn't. They were so loving, so caring, and saying hello and how are you, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought there would be like a cultural barrier, you know, with language, but believe it or not, they speak English just like we do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, so like that fear you had in the beginning,
Yeah.
you know, it didn't compare to what you actually experienced when you went through it.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
a big point.
That's
right
super cool. So you brought up ethnicity, you know, in the generation that we live in the political climate, you know, that gets brought up a lot. And one of the topics that we want to not be afraid to talk about is racism.
Absolutely.
You know, and the realities that exist in that. And so, you know, you kind of get it as almost a double-edged sword, being both a female and being African American. And so, you know, you've experienced racism, you've experienced a lot of those tough situations, you know, and man, I thank God for how you've been formed, Kinesha, because you have one of the most loving hearts I've ever met. But like, help me understand, maybe you have some insight on this. How can we be such a diverse nation and still have such strong seeds of that when in the Philippines they're so mono-ethnic, and you bring somebody in that's different and they're not looking down on you? Like what's the spirit behind that? Like what do you think is different about that makes them so embracing? And dude, we're supposed to be this like progressive country, and we're still struggling with this. Like, what do you think's the heart behind that, or the issue behind that?
I honestly think we have to look past our own insecurities. I think we bring a lot of different things to the table as far as your past hurts or experiences.
That's good.
And you, not to say you, but just in general, sometimes people bring that to the next person, even though that person didn't cause it, but you're just taking on your own past hurts and experiences.
Right.
I think here in America, we're surrounded by so many things that distract us. You know, the Philippines, they have so little, and yet they're so thankful for what they have. You know, and here in America, I think if we could shift our focus from our own hang-ups and past insecurities to look past all of the obstacles that we've tried to overcome as far as racism, the civil rights movement, you know, and to meet us where we're at right now out of love. I think the Philippines, they just, that genuine love that they have for one another. Yeah.
That's really good. And I think, you know, we want to be realistic that, you know, there is a spirit of fear that exists in people, man, and we see it so many times. And I think it plays out, or the word I would use is like manifests or shows itself in things like, you know, bigotry and racism, but in other ways as well, like sexism, you know, or nationalism. We talked a little bit about some of those things. But, you know, we want to really encourage you guys, you know, to work through your fear. And to know that, like, man, we really are better together. You know, and I love our country. I really do. You know, I'm patriot, you know, die hard. Like, man, I'm so glad I was born in America. But I'm not a nationalist. And in the sense that, like, I realize that all nations are important. All people are important.
That's right.
You know, and I think it casts aside some of the fear that we have of like people coming in or taking what we have or some of these things. When you go and you walk with them and you live with them, and man, you know what surprised me is like how impoverished the rest of the world is.
Come on.
You know, like, man, we have so much in the life that we grow up in, and we're like afraid to not have things. You know, and I would say to you, listeners out there to understand that what's going to happen is, in the opposition that fear brings, it's going to try to rob your joy in life. It's going to try to rob the experiences that you have. And what I tell people is, money's not everything, success is not everything, it's different for everyone. And you've got to do what makes you happy.
That's right.
You've got to get to a point where you know that you are called to something, you love doing it, not just you're good at it, right? But you love doing it, right? Because, man, you were good at making coffee, bro, but you had to quit Starbucks.
It's true, man.
And you had to come to that realization. And so, just because you can do something doesn't mean you're called to something. And I think fear often keeps people in a place they were never meant to be in. And so what I love about Kinesha is, man, Kinesha's exploring, man, what does it look like to live without fear? What does it look like to be not fearful, but fearless, right? In the face of adversity. I always tell people, adversity or opposition is your opportunity, right? And so I would say that to you guys, your opposition is your opportunity. And so think about that as you process fear. Understand that life really is 10% what happens to you and 90% the way you respond to it, right?
That's true.
How are you going to respond to fear? How are you going to respond to the anxiety that those things that come in? And I would say, man, do what you're passionate about doing and let the rest handle itself. Know that, hey, there is a creator that has called you to create. And if you live in that you will be provided for, and you may not have everything you want, man, but you will have everything you need in the midst of that. And so let that be an encouragement to you guys, man. Kinesha's incredible young leader, just serving young people, doing incredible things. She's a great speaker. I know some of you guys out there are looking for female speakers for your next event. If you hit us up, Kinesha would love to come and speak. She's fearless in that, spoken to hundreds of young people. She's going to be doing a great event with me the beginning of this year again called Turn Your Campus, where we speak to over 1,700 youth. You guys will be seeing a recap video of that. We're out here, we're doing this. We want you guys to be a part of the team and what we're building. So if you want to get connected with Kinesha, we'll have her information in this video. And as always, man, we just want to leave you with that snippet. I would remind you guys, right? Opposition is your opportunity. Life is how you respond. Right? Don't worry about what's going on. Worry about how you're going to respond to it. Know that you are called to create, and know that when you're passionate, man, you're empowered, and you're not fearful, and you have authority. An authority, man, that can do incredible things. And so we encourage you guys, don't live in fear, but be fearless this week. All right, bless you guys.
My mind's gone and I'm flying home and I'm stressed out and I'm tempted to get that style phone and go pull it up, but you know what's up and you